Today is Monday, 5th October, in the year of the pandemic, 2020. And this is the storytelling by and for adult series. And so this is the October session, October 2020 session. And the first storyteller of the day is Sephie. Sephie, will you please introduce yourself and the story and take the stage?
Hi everyone, I'm Sephie. I live in Israel, originally from the States. I tell stories to adults, but sometimes I have mixed crowds. I've been a storyteller for about 12 years. And any further questions, you can feel free to write to me or ask me later on. Shall we begin? Israel is in a lockdown. We walk around with masks. We stay far from each other. I miss smiling. I miss hugging. I miss looking at each other's eyes, facial expressions, touching. But mainly I miss the elderly people. You know, way back then, before we had the corona, children actually went to school every single day. And they had some daily outings. So the day that I'm going to tell you about was a perfect sunny day, fit for an outing. And the teacher took her second graders to visit an old age daycare center in a nearby neighborhood. The children were excited. They all prepared gifts to give to the senior citizens. And when they arrived, they entered a big hall. Lots of people, every person sitting on the table, waiting for a child to chat with. The children immediately scattered away. One child was a little bit hesitant. He was looking around. It seemed like all the tables were taken. Wasn't there someone there for him to meet? The teacher showed him in the corner a man sitting by the table. He approached slowly, looking at the old man sitting right in front of him, just looking. He took out of his bag a chocolate bar, and he gave him. And the man's eyes opened, a smile lit up his face, and he took the bar of chocolate. Wow, thought to himself the child, that was a lovely smile. Maybe he'll smile again. So he took out of his bag a bottle of apple juice and gave it to him. The man smiled again. For an hour, in a hall, in an all-day care center, was sitting people talking, chatting. Lots of noise was around, and in a corner, an elderly man and a child were sitting by the table, eating chocolate and drinking apple juice without saying a word. The bell rang. It was time to say goodbye. The child got up, and then he went to the man and he just hugged him. They hugged each other, and when they separated, he saw that the man was smiling right at him. The biggest, nicest smile he's ever seen. The child went home. He was so happy. When he opened the door, he said, "Mommy, Mommy, you'll never believe what happened to me today." And she said, "Honey, how was your trip?" He said, "Mommy, listen, I think I met God today. We ate chocolate together. And guess what? He has the nicest smile I've ever seen." On the other side of town, an old man was walking home. went up the stairs, opened the door, and there was his son. "Hey, Dad, how was your day? Why are you smiling?" "Oh, son, you'll never believe what happened to me today. I think I actually met God. We ate chocolate together, and you know what? He's much younger than I thought." The end.
Okay, were you going to tell one more?
I thought you wanted after this story to do something. Do you want me to tell the
Oh,
second
no,
story?
that's a good idea. Why don't we give a little feedback after the story? Yeah.
It's not a matter of a feedback. Well, okay, you wanted to. Yes, feedback. Yes. Hi, friends. How are you? Wow. Hi, Barry.
Uh-huh. So they both thought that each other was God, or the experience was God. Is that right?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Yes.
And
Just shows you never know who you can meet.
Uh-huh. And it was the combination of they enjoyed each other's company, and they enjoyed the chocolate and the juice. And what's not to like, as we say.
Yep.
Now you changed it, right? You moved it indoors.
I changed it. Eric challenged me. The original story was a little bit different, and when I told it to Eric, it was very interesting because we noticed that that we had cultural differences regarding the story and the way that I wanted to tell it. And he challenged me, and I changed the whole setting of the story according to his comments. And what do you think about it?
Yeah, I, as a New Yorker, was visualizing see, when Sephie first told it, they were in a park outdoors, and the boy came and sat next to the old man. So I was thinking, oh, Central Park, yes, a man is sitting on a bench, and a little boy comes and sits next to him, and they smile at each other for hours. It's not a New York story. So you changed it to that they were visiting a senior citizen center, which I think was nice.
Yeah, I was all the time thinking about the teacher's looking all the time. He's not alone with the man. They're not drinking Coke, which is commercial. I changed a lot of things there, but thanks. It was nice. It was nice working on it and creating actually a new story, and I made it mine, of course. Mm-hmm. And that's a special thing about it.
Wonderful.
I think there's a video of that, isn't it? Is there? I remember
what?
I think there is a video of this story. I remember watching it somewhere.
It could be. It's a very known story. I found it on the internet years ago. I just love this story. Actually, when I told Eric, I didn't tell him the story with a hug. I just said with a wave. But the original story with a hug, and I miss hugging. So
yes, very true. Very true.
Don't we all miss the hugging?
Yes, yes.
Let's all hug. Everybody, let's all just hug each other. I hug you, and I hug you, and hug yourselves. It's very important.
Great.
So
okay.
It's also interesting to notice when we tell stories. It's also interesting to notice that when we tell stories, we usually tell stories in our own country or own town, whatever. So the public that's listening to us usually knows all the connotations that we are referring to. But when we tell a story to a wider public that come from different cultures, we do need to take it into account. That's interesting.
I'd like to say something also. This story is particularly timely in Israel because just a few months ago, there was a series on television where they brought children from a preschool into a daycare center, and they called it 80 plus 4. So it was 80-year-olds and 4-year-olds. And the impact that these children had on the older people was just amazing, and vice versa as well. And you could see the children, every time they came back, they were more excited, and they went to their favorite people, and the older people were just waiting for them, and it was amazing. It was really amazing. So it reminded me of that program. It was a wonderful, wonderful series.
Sephie, I'd love to say that when you said that you miss the elderly, that really resonated. And I hadn't thought of that we've really kind of shuttered off a whole group of people have had to shutter themselves off. And I know that when our children were younger, we were aware of the impact of my in-laws, especially in my kids' lives. And research that says that children who have steady contact with their grandparents are enriched in certain ways. And that there might be a large generation of children who, at least for this year, are missing out on that. And I think in the pandemic, I know definitely in our country, in the States, perhaps in other places, I sometimes see on media that there's almost a tendency to say, yes, the pandemic is horrible, but it's a lot of older people, with the implication being that they're closer to death. And in some way, their lives, and I shouldn't say their lives, I should say our lives, are not quite as valued. And then the other thing I wanted to add is there's a wonderful picture book that I'm not sure how available it is in other places. And I think it's by a writer, a US writer. Oh, no, I'm not sure if maybe this is an Australian writer. I don't know. But Mem Fox, I think, wrote a book called Wilfred Partridge McDonald Gordon. Does anyone know that story? It's a very sweet story about a boy who lives next to a senior citizen's home, and he goes to the home and he sees the people, and he comes home and tells his parents about how, well, so-and-so lost her memory, or he tells his parents about the people, and his parents say, oh, that's so sad, so-and-so lost her memory, oh, so-and-so lost her laughter, or whatever. And the boy brings little trinkets to give the elderly people back what they have. And it's just, it's a wonderful story of empathy and of pathos. And it kind of lives in the same realm of existence as the story that you shared with us.
Okay. Are you ready to hear another story? Short one? Yeah? Okay. Okay, so here we are. Well, again, the corona. It's a major thing in my life. It's such a chaotic time. You know, one could never know what will happen in a week, in a day, sometimes even an hour. This story that I'm going to tell you about is perfect for this time. And you know what? After I tell you the story, you will know exactly why I chose it. 3 young crows stood in front of an assembly of crows to pass the test to be nominated as mature crows. The first crow was asked, "What is your biggest fear?" "The arrow," replied the audience, and they gave him a certificate. "What is your biggest fear?" was the second crow asked. "I'm not afraid of the arrow. I'm afraid of the skilled archer. Because without his skills, the arrow would just be a simple branch, as the branch that I'm sitting on right now." Replied the audience, and they gave him a graduate certificate. "And what is your biggest fear?" the third crow was asked. "I'm terrified. I have a great fear, and the blood freezes in me, and my feathers stand up. Not because of the arrow, not because of the skilled archer because of the unskilled archer. Huh? 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 Replied the crowd, and they asked him to explain. Well, you see, when a skilled archer stands in front of me and I hear the sound of the string, all I have to do is hop to the left, hop to the right, and the arrow will miss the target, me. But when I stand in front of an unskilled archer and I hear the sound of the string, I don't know what to do. Should I hop to the left? Should I hop to the right? Should I fly away? Should I freeze in one place? You see, with an unskilled archer, there's no safety and there's no guarantee. Kra, 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 replied the whole crowd, and they accepted him with great honor to the assembly of the wise crows. Thank you.
Loved it. Loved it.
Yay!
I have something to
Yay.
say. I was thinking that the third one was not the arrow, not the skill, it's the intent. Somehow in my mind, I was thinking it's the intention to kill. So wonderful. Love the story.
Wow. Wow.
Okay, so it was chaos is the most dangerous thing. It's the most scary thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was thinking the unskilled archer is a bit like the coronavirus because it's not going for a particular person. It could hit anyone. And how do you keep yourself safe?
Mhm.
And I also think about the political situation. Say no more.
Well,
Everywhere.
the president of the USA has said that he likes to be unpredictable.
Well, it's the same case here in Israel.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, Sephie, as someone who has heard you tell stories many times, I'm always at awe how even a story that I've heard you telling maybe 10 times over, I keep being so attentive when you tell. You tell it with so, I don't know what's the word in English, but it's like, it's always fresh. It's always new. It's always with great enthusiasm. It's clear to the listener that you love telling stories.
Yes.
Thank you.
If not anything, I would love to learn what she does. Ka, ka, ka.
That's a whole new.
Yet to learn that.
Fania, maybe
Thank
the
you
word
very
you were looking.
much.
Fania, maybe the word you were looking for is spontaneity. It feels like it's brand new.
Spontaneity and focus, presence. And it also helps to look into the camera.
Yes.
You know, one of the big aspects of video conference storytelling is that if you look into the camera, you give your listeners a sense of eye contact, but you don't get to see your listeners. Whereas if you look at your listeners, they see an image of you looking downward.
Well, Norma, did I manage to look at the camera?
Yes, you're very good at
Okay.
looking at the camera. And
Okay,
that really
so-
gives a sense of warmth and involvement for us listeners, watchers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks,
Good.
it was a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Okay, our next storyteller is Ramya Srinidhi. Ramya, are you there?
Yes.
There you are.
Hi,
Okay,
hi.
please introduce yourself and the story and take the stage.
Good evening and good morning and good afternoon maybe for all the people who've joined from different places. I think the positives of the pandemic, that it's opened the stage globally. So that's wonderful. I have an interesting story from Turkey. Am I audible? Is my audio here?
Yes, that's
Okay,
fine.
I have an interesting folk tale. So we'll talk about the story after I finish the story. Okay? All right. Okay. I must have been all of 18 when we lived in Istanbul, Turkey. I was a young gardener woman and used to work in a rich man's house. Oh, I used to enjoy tending to all those flowers and plants in that garden. You know, I used to wear golden sandals and hold a silver pitcher to water those plants. Well, there was another reason why I enjoyed going to this particular garden. There was a window which overlooked the garden. And from that window, the son, the young son of this rich man, used to keep an eye on me. Oh, I used to enjoy all the attention and steal a few glances myself. Well, one day the young man came very close to me and he said, "Gardener, young woman, the plants and flowers are not half as charming as the person tending them." Well, what do you know? He immediately went and told his mother that he wants to marry the gardener young woman. His mother did not like this match, though she eventually gave her blessing. Soon enough, a marriage proposal was made. Well, immediately the young man dug up a huge cellar under his house and he furnished it with all the luxuries. He said it was designated for his bride-to-be. Well, as for me, while the wedding preparations was being made, in my bag, I put all the carpentry tools that I could lay my hands on. I thought it would come handy. Well, soon enough, the wedding day arrived and I was decorated in the most fragrant flowers. After the wedding, I was ushered into the cellar room. It was the most luxurious cellar room you can ask for. And the young man used to visit me there. He told me that I was allowed to step out, but whenever I did, his manservants would keep an eye on me. We had a wonderful time. But you know me, I would not like to be confined in the four walls underneath. Whenever I found time, quickly yet quietly, I dug up a tunnel which went all the way to the woods nearby, which was close to my mother's house. You know, I would escape and take my small escapes from this tunnel into the woods once in a while. All was well and we lived so happily until one day my young husband knocked at the cellar door and he told me, "My darling gardener young woman, work calls me and I had to go to Syria. I may be gone for a year or so, but don't worry. While I'm gone, I'm going to give you enough money and supplies to keep you comfortable," he said. I just asked him one question. My dear, what color horse would you be riding and what coat and what cap?" I asked him. "A black horse, a black coat and a black cap," he said, and he went. I took some money and through the tunnel went to my mother's house and asked her to arrange for a black horse, a black coat and a black cap for myself. Well, I came back into the cellar and on that day, my husband left for Syria. I quickly went through my tunnel, went to my mother's house, changed into a man's clothes myself, and started to ride towards Syria at a safe distance from the young man. After we crossed the city, I happened to cross him accidentally. I think he found it very strange to see another man in a black horse wearing a black coat and a black cap. He did not recognize me in my man clothes. Soon enough, we became good friends. We stopped, we drank, we ate together. And on the way, the young man mentioned that in Syria, he was planning to get married. When we reached Syria, we went to a coffee house. Soon enough, I bid goodbye to this young man and I went looking for an old woman. You know, back then in those places, there used to be this old independent woman who knew all the arts. They were called witches. I went to one such woman, knocked on her door, changed into my woman's clothes, and I requested her. I said, "Grandmother, you need to help me. I want you to sell me as your daughter, as a bride for this young man with these descriptions sitting in this coffee house. I'm going to pay you well," I said. Soon enough, the old woman met the young man at the coffee shop and sold me to him as his second wife. It was a beautiful wedding, and of course, I rearranged my hair to look like a local young girl. We lived happily for a year. In that time, I even gave birth to a baby boy. However, when my child was 3 days old, the young man came to me and said, "My dear, time has come for me to go now." He gave me enough money. He brought the child a big sword and a belt. And he said, "This is for the son. I don't know if I'm going to be back or not, but when the time is right, the child will find me," he said, and he rode on his horse. Well, I quickly tied the child very close to my chest, went to the old woman's house, took my horse, and rode all the way back to Istanbul before the young man. I went to my mother's house, left the child at my mother's, through the tunnel, got back to my cellar. Just in time, there was a knock at the door. "My gardener, young woman, I hope you haven't been too bored while I was gone. I hope you've kept yourself busy," he said. "Oh, not at all, my man. I just found this and that to do while you were gone," I said. What an adventure it was for me. Well, some time passed, and then one day there was a knock on the door, a knock on my cellar door when my husband said, "My darling gardener, young woman, I have to go to Yemen for some work," he said. "Well, just one question. What color horse, what coat, and what cap would you be wearing, my young man?" I asked. "Well, a red horse, a red coat, and a red cap," he said. You know what I did? I quickly went through my tunnel, took the money, gave my mother, made sure she arranged a red color horse, a red coat, and a red cap for myself. The day arrived when my young man bid goodbye to me and left towards Yemen. Well, I quickly rushed through the tunnel, changed into man clothes, and sat on that horse and started riding. While we crossed the city, I crossed him. I think the man found it very strange again to find another man wearing a red coat, a red cap, and riding a red horse just like his. Soon enough, we became friends, and the whole journey was joyful with us stopping, eating, and drinking together. And this time also, when he checked in to a hotel, I bid goodbye. I went to the old woman's house nearby, and I asked her to sell me as her daughter to this young man. Soon enough, she came and she sold me. He gave a good bride price also, and I was married to this young man as his third wife. Did he recognize me? Of course not. He was such a fool that he did not recognize me at all. We lived happily for another year, and again I gave birth to a baby boy. When my child was 3 days old, he brought a belt, a sword, and said, I have to leave now. He gave me good money and said, the child will find me when the time is right, and rode on that horse. I quickly got back to my horse, held the baby close to me, and rode all the way to Istanbul, left the baby in my mother's house, got back to the tunnel, into my salar. Just in time for that knock. Of course, I wasn't bored at all. I kept myself busy, I told my young man. Another some time passed, and this time the young man knocked on the door to tell me that he was going to the faraway land of Egypt. Well, you know what my question was. What color horse? What coat? What cap, young man? A white horse, a white coat, and a white cap, he said. Well, you know what happened next. Soon enough, I was riding next to him in a white horse with a white coat and a white cap, dressed as a man. And when we reached Egypt, I made sure I was sold to him, and there was a wedding, and this time I was married to this young man for the 4th time. We lived so happily for 1 year, and I gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. When the child was 3 days old, he brought her a golden bowl and gave it to my darling daughter and said, time has come for me to leave. He gave me enough money and he left Egypt. Well, soon enough, I rode back to Istanbul, left the child with my mother and back to my cellar. The young man visited me in cellar.
Sound chala gaya.
And then, after some time, he told his mother, Mother, I would like to marry again. I'm going to keep the gardener young woman in the cellar, but find me another woman and I'm going to marry, he said. The wedding preparations was made, a beautiful girl was found and everything was set. But on the day of the wedding, the young man fell sick. He was so sick that he was in his bed. Just then, I thought this was the right time. I went to my mother's house. I made sure my 3 children took their gifts, the belt and the sword and the golden bug, and came and met the young man. My 3 children came and knocked at the young man's house. They went to their father and they said, Greetings. The first son said, I am the boy from Syria. The second son said, I am the boy from Yemen. And my darling daughter, the young daughter said, I am the daughter from Egypt. Soon enough, the young man got up. He was surprised. He said, where are your mothers? He was expecting 3 women, I tell you. And the 3 children took his hand and slowly led him towards the cellar door. And there was a knock. I opened the door and the children said, here is our mother. The young man was shocked. He looked at me and said, what is this? Who are these children and how come they're saying that you're your mother? Well, I said, they're half mine and half yours, young man. And I narrated the entire story. He came inside the cellar. He sat there. He came very close to me. He looked into my eyes and said, well done. For the first time in those eyes, I could see love. I saw love like never before. I saw respect. I saw pride. I even saw regret in those eyes, regretting for the way he had treated me. He took my hand and the young man told me, my darling, gardener young woman, would you like to marry me for the 5th time and be my wife and live with me in the upper chamber of the house? I agreed. I agreed, and there was the most beautiful wedding ceremony, and I had married the young man for 5 times. We lived happily, and now I'm in my 70s, and when both of us stand in that window looking at the beautiful garden below, the young man tells me, my darling, my dear gardener young woman, the flowers and the plants are not half as charming as the person who owns them. Thank you, thank you. That's the end of my story.
Beautiful, Ramya.
Thank you so much.
Ramya, why don't you tell a little bit about the process? How at first you didn't like that story at all.
Oh yes, I had to de-roll from the gardener young woman back to Ramya. It's been a wonderful journey with this story, I have to tell you, and all thanks to Eric, who was literally hand-holded me through the story, because first time when I read the story, I did not like the story one bit, because I said, what kind of a man, the way he treats a woman, and how can he put her in a cellar, and he's going and he's getting married, and why is this woman going after him again and again? Right, so there was a lot of introspection. I have done a lot of work with this story, and I had to actually change my looking glass, my perspective of the story, to go back to the place, the origin of the story, the people back then. I am looking at a contemporary times of 2020 and how women are and how women want to be treated, versus back then, and what marriage meant back then, what a husband, what a relationship and everything meant back then. So I had to work, and we had to work a lot on that story. Eric even made a shorter version for me with several other facts and information, which helped me map the story, which helped me tell the story. So thank you so much, Eric. And this time when I told it, and also I requested him if I can tell it from the perspective of the woman, because it was basically told in a third person. This happened, she came, he went. But for me, somehow the story touched when I changed my perspective, and I said, I'm going to tell the story as the woman herself. So it was a wonderful journey, and a lot of work with the story.
I tried to modify the story to make him not look so bad. But I'm struck in that story how the wife has a network of women helping her, her mother, and then wherever she goes, she finds a senior woman to assist her. Some people call the senior women witches, but we know that's patriarchal discrimination. So she has a team. And we never talked about this, Ramya, but I have a feeling that, you know how the man gets sick just before he's going to marry that other woman at the end? Mm-hmm. I think there might have been a little, not witch work, but there was a little, some kind of work there to stop that plan.
Absolutely, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, especially the story in the beginning, the longer version of it, Eric, when how the woman and the man, before they get married, all the tricks that they play on each other, how smart this young woman was. And I'm sure she would have done something if she did all this to get married to him 3 times. And just it is right on her own corner where he's getting married for the 5th time. I'm sure she had her hand in that.
Uh-huh.
And she very cleverly got her 3 children, and the way they spoke to him, the way they introduced, and the way they led her to the cellar, puts her in such a beautiful place. And I also have to mention here that Eric was, really helped me, because he said, you need to mellow down the tone. This is not to be told like a performance. This is like, if this woman is an old woman now telling her grandchildren, it's a family story, and the man is sitting right there in the couch, how would she tell, not to put him down too much, and still tell the story to the grandchildren in, that also the perspective was playing on my mind. Though I didn't do too much work on the voice, but the perspective of sitting and telling the young children about the story, and this happened. That was
it really brought tears to my eyes.
And I was, the last bit when I said I really saw that love in his eyes, the respect, the pride, and also the regret for the way he had treated her. And then he calls her to live in the upper chamber of the house. And yeah, I also wanted to add that bit, that next time, every time he traveled, he took me along with him.
But is it believable that the man, he would not recognize his own wife when she was dressed as a man? He would not recognize his own wife when she was dressed as an Egyptian or as a Yemenite or as a Syrian? Is it believable that he would not recognize her?
We need to ask the men. We don't know.
That they would live together happily for a year, and he would never figure it out?
Eric, I think I would say he would look at the Superman and Clark Kent. Only the class is the difference. Yeah.
I would say people who are influenced by Bollywood could agree that we don't recognize even if we add a new mole on the face. So I said yes, it's imagination.
Okay.
Can I add? I actually felt that was a very important aspect to the story, because I think what we were trying to understand through it was how he completely was not even paying any kind of attention. And then when he really pays attention is when the relationship happens. So for me, it kind of played that way. And actually, when she mentioned that they lived happily for a year, that's when I started liking the story, honestly. Thank you, Ramya. That was beautiful.
Like she mentioned, I felt he was concentrating only on a fact that there was a woman with him. That's all. He couldn't care what the face or the personality was. It was just a woman. That's all he wanted. So finally, at the end of it, and I think this girl also had got tired of traveling all the time, so she must have made him sick. So
Barry has something to say. I see him.
Yeah, Ramya, I wanted to say that I thought the way you told the story really conveyed the generosity that the woman showed towards her husband, which is an important part for us to kind of accept and go along with, his not recognizing and her putting up with that. And it also brought to mind that she's a human shapeshifter. And of course, cultures around the world have traditions of shapeshifters that are often supernatural characters or animals, or like the Monkey King, but that she was a shapeshifter. And then it brought to mind the notion that I think certainly in my country, but probably in yours as well, that there are marginalized people or oppressed people that in order to get ahead and to succeed have to in some ways shapeshift, or certainly the idea of code switching, of speaking at different levels of language and adjusting who you are to the situation you're in. And it reminds us that people all over the world, certainly women, but certainly people who are in oppressed populations other than women, constantly have to shapeshift, have to have those networks that Eric talked about, and have to work harder to get an equal footing. So I think it's a very relevant story for where we are.
See, this story, it's a fairy tale, and it has a happy ending, because at the end she is given her freedom, or she is given her equality. So she escapes the marginalized position.
I'd like to say something, Ramya. Well done. Wow, I loved it. I was fascinated to you from the first moment when you sang and you put the scarf slowly, and you're sitting, you know, I'm playing with my position in front of the camera, but you're sitting in a way that your whole face, we can see your whole face, and it's so much different. Now that I have glasses, I tell stories through glasses. When you wear out glasses, you could see every single facial expression. And since you have darker skin and you have darker eyes, even when you were just looking to the side, I know if you can even see it in my eyes too, even when you were looking on the side and we saw the white here and the black going there, it was a delightful, it was just teeny weeny little thing that you did, but it made the whole connection between the perspective of where people were standing, who's looking at, and you didn't look straight to the side to you, and you looked a little bit up, you know, because maybe he's standing above her and she's sitting down, or maybe she's a little bit shorter than him. So it helped us imagine the relationship and the way that people actually look. You know, everybody builds their own story and their own imagination and the whole relationship. I'm sure the girl that I see in my eyes is not the girl as someone else would see, but you helped us. You gave these little hints that made everything so vivid and easy to grasp in our imagination. So thank you very much. It was lovely.
Thank you, Sephie. Thank you so much. Honestly, definitely credit to Eric from selecting the story to perspective. So I had placed those people, I had placed my grandchildren, I knew where the window of the garden was. I could see the flowers there. So that's how much the story touched me when I was working on it versus the first version when I heard. So thank you, Eric, for that wonderful journey that I've had with the story.
You're right. What are you talking about? Did you burp?
Okay, let's go on to the next story, which is another folktale from West Asia. Zarin, are you ready?
Yeah, Eric.
Go ahead. Please introduce yourself and the story.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I am Zarin. I'm a researcher by profession and a storyteller by passion. I was trained by Eric Miller. You all know about him. He is the director of the World Storytelling Institute. So today I'm going to narrate to you all a story titled The Land Where Women Were Banished. This is a Saudi Arabian folktale. So in the land of Arabia, there lived a mighty king named Hamid bin Batara. Hamid bin Batara loved his wife. He loved his wife more than his life. But you know what happened? One day, Hamid bin Batara caught his wife cheating him. She saw him with a slave. Hamid bin Batara became too furious. You know what he did? He banished his wife from his kingdom. And you know what happened after that? Hamid bin Batara called everyone from his kingdom and he told them, no girl except my mother will stay in this kingdom. Right from the youngest child to the oldest woman should leave my kingdom, said Hamid bin Batara. That was too strange, isn't it? But he banished all the women from his kingdom. When the princess of the neighboring kingdom, Sharifa, heard about this, she thought, it's too strange. How can a man live without a woman? It's too strange. And you know, she told her people, she told them, I am going to go to Hamid's kingdom, King Hamid's kingdom, and I'm going to find out why he banished all the women and how he can live without a woman. But her people were very scared for their princess. They told her, Princess Sharifa, don't do that. You don't know about King Hamid. He's too cruel. He hates women and he might kill you. But Princess Sharifa told them, that's okay. I will disguise myself as a man and I will go to King Hamid's kingdom as his guest. So Princess Sharifa disguised herself as a man and She took some of her soldiers with her and she went to King Hamid's kingdom. She was welcomed with a lot of splendor. But you know what? King Hamid was attracted to Prince Sharif. He thought, how can I be attracted to a man? So he had this question in his mind and he went to his mom and he asked her, Mother, there is a new prince who has come to our kingdom and I think that he is a woman. Whenever I look at him, I get attracted towards him. And when Prince Hamid told this to his mother told him, if you think Prince Sharif is a woman, then take him to the market which sells silk and gold. For no woman can resist the temptation which the silk and gold offers her. Now, King Hamid took Prince Sharif to the market. He told Prince Sharif, hey Prince Sharif, look at the silk, it's very soft. Look at the gold, it's so glittery, it's so glittery. But Princess Sharifa knew about King Hamid's trick. You know what she told him? He told him, Prince Hamid, silk and gold is not for a man. I'm not a woman to get impressed by the silk and this gold. So let's go to the shop which sells the mightiest sword. So Prince Sharif took Hamid to a shop which sold swords. And you know what? Princess Sharifa now chose the mightiest sword of all. Now, Hamid felt bad, but still this question was lingering in his mind. He thought, but still I feel that Prince Sharif is a princess. Now again he went back to his mother and he told her, Mother, how can I be attracted to a man? I definitely think this Prince Sharif is a princess. Now, his mother told him, if you feel that Prince Sharif is a princess, then offer him the spiciest food. For a lady's delicate tongue can never tolerate the spices in the food. So now, King Hamid gave a grand feast to Prince Sharif filled with the spiciest food. But Prince Sharif, he relished the food. He said, wow, Hamid, King Hamid, the food is so delicious. I just love it. Add more spice to it, said Prince Sharif. Now, King Hamid did not know what to do after this. He thought at least through this test, he can reveal Prince Sharif's identity. At least through this test, he can make sure that he'll find out whether Prince Sharif was a princess. Now he failed at this attempt. You know what he did after that? He again went back to his mother and he told her, oh mother, I definitely think that Prince Sharif is a princess. I know that he is a woman and he is cheating me. Now, his mother told him, Hamid, a girl's heart is too soft. It's just like the wool. It's so kind. So definitely, Prince Sharif will break down once and he will show you that he is a woman. Yes, you can prove that he is a woman if you trick him. So you know what King Hamid did? He asked one of his soldiers to pour some tea on Prince Sharif. So on that day, a soldier brought some tea. The cups rattled on his hand and he poured some tea on Prince Sharif. You know what happened after that? Prince Sharif became very furious. She said, I demand that this soldier should be beheaded. This soldier should be beheaded, said Prince Sharif. So Hamid was taken aback. Finally, he pacified Prince Sharif and he spared the soldier. Now, King Hamid thought, okay, let me subject this Prince Sharif to the last test. So he went to his mother and told her, Mother, I have failed at all my attempts to prove that Prince Sharif is a princess. Now, tell me what to do. This will be the last test which I will subject Prince Sharif to prove that he is a woman. So King Hamid's mother told him, Hamid, take Prince Sharif to the sea, ask him to remove his clothes and ask him to take a bath along with you. A woman will definitely not shed her clothes due to her shyness. So Prince Hamid took Prince Sharif with him. They both went to the sea. And you know what? When Hamid asked Prince Sharif to take a bath along with him, you know what she did? Prince Sharif just went into the water. She just jumped into the water and she escaped. Her ship was parked on the sea. You know what she did? She got onto the ship and she sailed back to her kingdom. Now King Hamid was disappointed. He was too disappointed. King Hamid went back to his palace and on the palace door, he saw a carving which said, I came in as a woman and I went back as a woman. And under that was written, Princess Sharifa. Now, King Hamid was very angry. He said, I am going to kill the woman who came to my kingdom. I am going to kill the woman who cheated me. So you know what he did? He went to Princess Sharifa's kingdom. He climbed on her palace walls and he went into Princess Sharifa's room. He opened the curtains and he went inside. And when he peeped inside, he saw Sharifa's beauty. It was highlighted in the moonlight. The princess looked very pretty and King Hamid lost his heart there. Now Princess Sharifa woke up and she saw King Hamid standing at the entrance of her door, of her room. She got up and she looked at him. Now, she saw that King Hamid was having a sword on his hand. She looked at King Hamid and she told him, "Oh King Hamid, how can a man exist without a woman? How can a day exist without night?" When she said that, King Hamid lowered his hands and he dropped the sword on the floor. Now, King Hamid and Princess Sharifa married and they lived happily together, and no woman was ever banished from the land of Hamid's kingdom ever again. So thank you for listening to this story.
Okay, wonderful. Those two stories actually have some things in common, right?
Yes.
In both cases, the woman disguises herself as a man sometimes.
Yes.
And the man learns a lesson.
Yes.
How did you, Zarin, how did you feel about the princess character as you were working with her?
I just liked the princess. She did not cover down. Yes, that was something which I liked in her. She wanted to prove to King Hamid that women cannot be stereotyped. Yes, he thought a woman could not eat spicy food. He had a lot of stereotypes in his mind, and also he generalized the character of women. So she made him to come out of his apprehensions, and she taught him that a woman is not based on his perception. Yes. So, and also she taught him that for the mistake of one woman, he cannot blame the entire crowd or group. So most of the cases that happens at many places, for a person's mistake, we tend to blame the entire group or entire set of flock from which they come, right? So even that is a lesson I think we can take from this story.
Great. Okay, anyone else want to add anything or?
Finally, when I look at the similarities of stories, it looks like the women have to always put in a lot of effort to hold on to their men, kind of thing, which is unfortunate. It should be vice versa too.
The women, it's not just they have to put an effort into holding on to the man, they have to put an effort into sort of humanizing him, turning him into a human being.
True, no doubt. So I think things have changed for the better now, more as a regimen for the men, I suppose, than humanizing them. I think that will also come slowly with education of the boys.
Good. Okay.
One thing I would like to add to this when I listen to the story, when every time he had to go to the mother and ask for ideas, how is it the mother never told him that he's not supposed to banish the women from the land?
Yes.
For, just because he found one woman cheating him. And if he could take advice on all these things, how is it that he didn't run to his mother at that time to, ask that, what do I do? I'm really upset that I've been cheated. I mean, that was really a
Okay,
sad
well, if we say that to the mother, how might the mother answer? Will anybody answer on behalf of the mother?
No, what I'm telling is when she could entertain all his other doubts, looking at a man where the king thinks that it's a woman, but how is it she never advised him on these things being a woman?
Yes.
That's a
So
really
let's ask the mother. Mother, why did you go along with your son when he said we're going to banish all the women? And
Son,
why
I would
did
like
you
to answer
why
that.
did you tell him all these ways he could discover the princess's identity? Will somebody answer on behalf of the mother?
I can.
Go ahead.
I'm the mother for that son at that time, not now, definitely.
Yes.
Let me make that very clear. I think I'm interested more in the interest of my son rather than anybody else. That is the first and foremost. I'm selfish. I want my son to be happy. If he's angry, I'll encourage that. If he wants to marry again, I'll encourage that. If he has doubts, I'll clear them. That is all my role is as a mother, to make him happy.
Okay, but I would let me also play the mother, and I will say that I knew that in the end he would mature, he would change, and so I didn't want to lecture him, I didn't want to control him, but I had a feeling that this princess would heal him and educate him. So I'm glad it all worked out.
Oh, it looks like the mother has actually conspired with Princess Sharifa.
Ah, it's possible.
Sure.
Or maybe she would say that, I was brought up this way and that's the right way. It's all about the way you're brought up, the surrounding, which makes you, isn't it? Maybe that's what she would say for her defense.
Exactly.
But I think the mother is. I like to think the mother is wise, and that she knows that her son will grow out of it.
That's a lovely thing to say, Eric, to look at the positive side of things. And I'm sure that is a better way to look at things than the other way.
Very good.
She could also be saying that her son needs to experience his own life and have his own mistakes And when he comes to me with some real concern, then I might give him a pat on the back or give him some lecture or information. But lecturing him now at this point is not going to do any good. He's going to do what he wants to do anyway. So let him have it.
Very good. Okay, so now we have three more stories. Smita is going to tell an original story, and then Hemalatha is going to tell a story about the goddess Durga, and Ed from California is going to tell about a choir that he was a part of. So Smita, why don't you introduce yourself and the story, and go ahead.
Thank you, Eric. Hello, everyone. Sorry I joined in late. I am a mother of two beautiful girls, the youngest being 18 months. And I am a practicing Bharatanatyam artist, which is an Indian classical dance. I have a dance academy called Parampara. And apart from that, I also practice dance and movement therapy as I'm a practitioner. We work with special children, we work with special adults as of now. And apart from that, storytelling has always been the at the root of all this. And Eric has been more than a mentor in many ways. I got into the field of expressive arts as a more than performing, because of attending a lot of sessions with Eric and his wife, and so on and so forth. So I'm right here. Thank you, Eric, for this opportunity. So today, the story that I'm going to share with you is maybe a familiar plot. It could be a familiar plot to everybody. But the story is what I made of it. It came to me at a time when I was personally transitioning to many things. One day, a beautiful little bird was very happy. She had food when she was hungry. She had water when she was thirsty. She had a beautiful swing up there for when she wanted to play. And right there was the deck where she perched to see the world outside. She was in a golden cage. The cage was placed right next to the window. And every time the bird would want some excitement, she would go and perch on her deck. She would look outside the cage. She would look at those mountains. Does the sky end there? Does it go beyond? The orange light, is it the sun? How would it feel for me to soar in that beautiful, big, vast sky? Is it vast? That orange sun, when it comes on my back, will it be warm? When I fly through the wind, when I fly and when I soar so high above this earth, will I feel the wind on my face? She always used to wonder. And whenever she did that, whenever she thought of the possibilities, she would swell her chest up with a lot of air, breathe out expectations, and be so happy. The owner of the cage was a nice lady. She used to come every day, and the bird used to nibble on her finger, caress her head, and, just rub it. She used to think, nice, affection. She used to wait every day for that single moment of affection. Then the cage would be shut, and then again the bird would swing. Days went by. The bird used to get very sad when on the window sat a traveling bird. It used to tilt its head and look at this bird in the cage and wonder, oh, my friend, you must be in such pain. You can't soar in the sky. You can't fly. You're just here. Hmm? Is life like this even possible? Looking at those traveling birds, our little bird in the cage used to feel so bad. She used to just jump down, put her shoulders down, go back to the swing. So she was meant to play there. She would go back to the swing. She used to feel so glum. One day, it so happened that the owner of the cage had left the door unlocked. The bird realized this. The door is open. Oh, how would it be to go outside? How would it be to feel the sky? How would it be to feel the sun on my back? How would it be to see my feathers flutter around? How would it be? Is the mountain too far away? Will I not get any food? What about thirst? Where do I get water? Will I make friends? Will they like me? So many questions and assumptions, and the poor little bird did not realize that the cage was shut long back. But then again, the bird went to her deck, perched on top, looked at the beauty beyond the cage, and she said, I will soar through the sky. I will feel the wind on my wings. One day, I will get there. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. So the bird who lived in the cage did she come out of the cage and walk around the room? And she was considering flying away, right?
Yeah, it's basically what we all are engulfed with so many assumptions, but when there is a chance, it takes a lot of effort to make the leap of faith, and maybe it's something like that. I actually didn't think of, I have told this story a lot of times, Eric, I must say, and a lot of people have asked me, why didn't the bird fly? But I don't know. I really don't know why the bird didn't take its flight. I don't even know if the bird knows to fly. I don't know the answers to those questions. But what I know is, I think there are many aspects to this story, and it just touched me at a time, and I was just growing as a teller, and I am still. So I don't know.
Okay, well, she's leaving her options open because in the future she might. But you mentioned at some point that the cage had closed or something had closed?
Yeah, so the cage was open for a moment. And it was at that time when she started thinking of the possibilities that could happen. But then she was just so engrossed in her own ifs and buts that she didn't take the first step. And then the cage was shut, and that's what it is. So that's why I was very persistent to make it the owner of the cage, because I think the bird for me here talks about the spirit of a person, and so nobody can own a person's spirit. So I feel somewhere, the cage, we all live in our cages, whatever name we call it. It's beautiful, it's big, wide, we have our time. So that's what it is.
So who closed the cage?
The owner of the cage.
It was a human.
The lady, yeah.
But that lady also opened the cage earlier at the beginning?
No, she didn't. That's what she used to put her finger in, and she used to nibble and caress.
But the cage door was open at some point, wasn't it?
Yeah.
How did it open?
No
Maybe
idea. It just happened. The lock broke, maybe. I would like to
Uh-huh.
think that the lock broke.
Well, when the lady was putting her finger in, maybe she forgot
Yes,
to close
probably. But then, interestingly, since you bring this up, the bird has not made an effort to open the cage.
it.
That's the beauty of it.
I've heard similar stories, but with a cat, a house cat, who has the choice of going into the forest and meeting a wild cat, a big cat, and eventually it does. So it's the domesticated versus the wild. And the domesticated animal, or the domesticated part of us, is always fascinated by the wild experience, the free experience, but we also recognize there are dangers to that experience. So we work at a compromise.
But at the end of it, there is hope. And one day, you will definitely do what your spirit tells you to do. That's what touched me about the story.
Plus, you will also wait for the day when you get the courage to break your chains. You know, you need a lot of effort to break free from what you're comfortable with, to get out of your comfort zone. So till you're bold enough to do that, you need to be in the cage, I suppose.
Absolutely.
But she eventually she might go free and fly and go to the mountain and come back.
Yeah, have the best of both the worlds.
So many times, can I say something?
Yes.
So many times in life, we have opportunities and doors that open. Now, the question is, first of all, do we notice if the door is open? Maybe the door was open a few times before and she never noticed it, first of all. And then when she notices the door is open, sometimes we're so hesitant and we're full of thoughts and so many things go on in our mind, we don't even take the chance. And suddenly the opportunity is over and it's done. And all we have is our dreams and the hope that next time the door will be open, I will definitely pay attention and I will definitely jump through the door. It happens or it doesn't happen, because not every single time the same door opens. Maybe the door will look in a different way and I won't notice again that this is a door and it's open. But I'm a great believer that one learns from experience. And I believe that bird, next time, will jump out of the cage and go out there.
Great.
I hope it does.
Okay, so that is a metaphorical story where the bird is a sort of alter ego for the creator of the story, for you, Smita. And you know, I teach a course on using storytelling for coaching and therapy, which is all about creating metaphorical stories. And there's always a discussion of what's the value of metaphors. So can you say anything about that, Smita? What was the value of creating that bird character and identifying with the bird and projecting yourself onto the bird?
Absolutely.
You could have just made it as a young woman who was locked in a room. But why did you decide to make it a bird? What was the benefits of that?
Okay, so Eric, I have told this, I attended, I have been a part of your therapeutic storytelling course. And I come from a culture where we symbolize animals. And as I said, I'm a Bharatanatyam dancer and it's a classical form. And when we dance, it's actually what plays out as abhinayam, or the emotion, is what runs inside. So the conversations that happen inside our head is what we emote through the face. And then as an audience is what people interpret it. So having said that, metaphors have a beautiful way to, cast away your feeling to somebody else and put it across. You know, when we talk about Krishna, or when we talk about Ram or Ravana, the good and the bad, we basically we are using metaphors for, you know, idealizing or not idealizing, and that's where I feel metaphors play a big role. And why did I not use a human is because personally for me as a practitioner of you know, arts, I somehow feel a human comes with a lot of baggage themselves. An animal is easier to comprehend or relate to, you know, because when I say bird, I know, you know, people will definitely not think about if the bird has done any good deeds or not. They will just take it as a bird, because a bird needs to fly, a bird needs wings. So for me, that's how metaphors work.
Because they're simpler in a way.
Absolutely.
Yes, it's Sika.
Hello, Eric, and namaskar, everyone. Well, Smita, thank you for such a thought-provoking story. Actually, I was listening to you, and I felt that at this point of time, that bird was me, you know, and then the sky was the PhD degree that I'm trying to, you know, and then I also felt that I was like the bird, a person with thoughts and less with action, you know. And then like I also like the descriptions that you said about the bird looking outside and like, you know, feeling the warmth of the sun at the back, and then the air in the wind, you know. So I always do that. To me, I also think that way, like how would it be to get the PhD degree in storytelling, you know, and then how will my parents feel when I do that, or you know, what kind of status will I have, or I mean, how will I feel when my professional status is updated to, you know, and then I give identity to my country's folktale to the wider audience through research, you know. And I could feel that aspiration, you know, but then yeah, like because of so many other things going around in my life, professional, personal, academic, you tend to think only, and then you realize that the door is already closed. So I hope you know, that doesn't happen, but then it's really an awakening for me. So I'm going to act very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Sika.
Hello everybody, Shama here. Can I say something?
Yes. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
if we are having a motivational session or something, you know, we can actually, the story is very nice to connect that way. So it can be about the river of life, okay? So we can ask the audience to pen down what were the opportunities they got, and why did they miss it? What was the hindrance that they missed it? You know, so like the bird, what is that, you know, restricted them? What were the assumptions that restricted them to fly to reach the goal? So they can pen down all those things and try to work overcoming all those things, so that next time when they get the opportunity, they knock at it, they take it up. So maybe this can be a kind of, you know, motivational story as well, so that we can relate well. This was my view.
Great. Okay, let's go on. Hema, are you ready to tell about Durga? Now you mentioned there's a festival coming up in Durga's honor.
Said to the bird, I am going on a journey.
Wait, oh, the bird. I don't know where that sound came from, but Hema, go ahead. Turn on your mic.
Good evening, everybody. First of all, I'm very grateful to you, Eric, for this wonderful platform. I've known Eric for over 6 years now, and it's always been inspirational and a great learning experience. Happy Teachers Day to all of you. Today is World Teachers Day, and it's wonderful to meet up. So, round the corner, we have the puja, Navratri, Dasara, Durga Puja, everything coming up by the 17th of the month in India. And I know many Indians would celebrate it even outside India. So I would like to narrate today a story about Goddess Durga. Long ago, there was a demon. His name was Ramba. And Ramba one day walked down the street. And to his surprise, he met a buffalo. He was so enchanted, he fell in love immediately. They got married and had a son. Mahisha is a buffalo and an asura. So Mahishasura was their son. He was half buffalo, half asura, and he could change his form. He was born with supernatural powers. He could become a buffalo or he could change into a man. And all the time as Mahishasura was growing up, he noticed whenever there was a fight between the asuras, the demons, and the devas or the gods would always win. And he would ask his father and wonder, what is it that the asuras lack? I must build up my power. His father blessed him. And later, as he was growing up, he constantly thought and thought, how can I improve my powers? And suddenly it struck him, tapasya. If I pray, if I fast, my powers will increase. He was a great devotee of Lord Brahma. Brahma is the creator. He is responsible for all creation. And when he prayed to Lord Brahma, it was a severe penance, an austere penance, where he even stood for several years on a single leg and he meditated. He prayed, and one fine day, Brahma was so happy, he manifested. He came down and he said, I am pleased with your penance. How can I reward you? He prostrated to Lord Brahma. Oh Lord, I really hope you can grant me a boon where no god or no man should ever be able to kill me. He looked with a twinkle in his eye. Brahma realized the loophole in Mahishasura's boon, and he only said, Tathastu, so it be, my child. And with the boon granted, he considered himself immortal, to be able to live forever and ever. No man, no god could ever lay their hands on him, and he was so happy no woman would ever even defy or have the guts to come near him. And in his rage and pride, he went and destroyed. He created so much terror. There was panic. There was so much of dreary gloom. The destruction made everyone feel terrible. His atrocities did not stop with the earth. He went up to the heavens and drove the gods out of heaven. Indra, the Lord of heaven, the God of heaven, was chased out, and Mahishasura named the heaven after his name. Mahishasura created so much of panic, the gods ran to the Trinity, Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver, and the destroyer, Shiva. And when they went to the Trinity, they were furious. They conferred together and decided on a plan. They sent down a fiery pillar of fire, and from that emitted a bright light, a blinding light. And from that emerged a 10-armed goddess, a powerful goddess who was an embodiment of Adi Shakti, of a power which no one on earth knew about. But this was a woman, and all the gods came forth to equip her with a dazzling spear or a weapon where she would have all the power to put down and destroy Mahishasura. Vishnu gave her the Sudarshana Chakra. Brahma, the creator, gave her a kamandalu with the Ganges water, which was very sacred. It would empower her. This scepter was given to her by the Lord of Death, Yama. She was given by Kal or Time a wonderful dazzling sword, and Indra gave her a thunderbolt to shake and create such an earthquake among the demons that they would be absolutely terrified. From Airavata, who was the vehicle of Indra, she received a bell to create confusion. They would be utterly confused. How would they act? What would they do? What should be their next step? And you had Vishwakarma, who was responsible for making all the weapons for the gods in heaven. He was an architect. In fact, he was the one who designed the whole of Dwaraka city. He was the one who created the Maya Sabha for the Pandavas. And with this weapon, he was sure Durga would be well equipped. Not only that, Varuna, the god of the sea, gave her a quiver with unending arrows so that she could fight. And with her might, she was also blessed with a lotus, which proved that she would be only successful. All the gods gave her a weapon. The Himalayas, the mighty mountains, gave her a ferocious lion to ride upon. And she would go on the lion to confront and defeat Mahishasura. Mahishasura was a very, very defiant opponent. For 10 days they fought, and it was not easy. On the 6th day, Durga, goddess, took up and became Katyayani. From that day, it took a different turn. The entire war was absolutely terrifying, till finally she decided to take the trident and chop Mahishasura's head. The whole world heaved a sigh of relief. They were so happy that peace was resumed. They couldn't believe that the opponent, the destruction, was put to an end. They prayed to Lord Brahma, they prayed to Lord Vishnu, but were so grateful to Mahishasura. Mahishasura was gone, and with that, they would even celebrate her peace. And in West Bengal, there is a 10-day carnival. Everyone rejoices, and they're dancing and they're rejoicing. So here we go. Come on, join me in celebration of the Durga Puja in advance at Bengal. And now taking you over to a different part of India, to Gujarat, where they are going to use the dandiya. And in the south, we display a lot of dolls. We put them up and call it a golu, G-O-L-U. This signifies that we emulate Goddess Lakshmi, Durga, and Saraswati. It's a festival for 9 days, where the first 3 days we pray to Lakshmi, then the next 3 days we are praying to Goddess Durga, and the last 3 days are dedicated to Goddess Saraswati, and it is called Vijaya Dashami, where it is a success of triumph over evil. Adharma is completely put down, and it's dharma over adharma. And these 9 days come to a culmination with the Vijay Dashmi all over India. We celebrate with a lot of pomp, revelry, festively, and a lot to eat. Oh, yummy, delicious stuff offered in the name of the goddess, but we are the ones who consume all of it. And we have a wonderful time. We're looking forward to this occasion shortly. Thank you.
Thank you. Very lively telling of the story.
Thank you.
I wonder, anybody, why is it that the gods all call upon a goddess to defeat this this man? Why is it a female figure who can overcome this fellow?
Okay, to take you back to the boon where Brahma granted no man or God would ever defy him, would ever be able to kill him. So he had this boon, and the gods manifested in the form of Durga, in the form of the powerful, mighty, ten-armed goddess, and she is an embodiment of Adi Shakti.
Okay, so it was a loophole, as I think you said, that no man could defeat him, so it was a woman who could defeat him.
Absolutely.
But I think there's also the element of how, you know, according to some methods of analysis, the male principle tries for eternal life, but the female principle is more about cycles and will not permit or will not tolerate eternal life because you know, she is involved with the cycle of life and death.
His initial boon was asking for immortality, and Brahma laughed and said, even the gods are not immortal. When they manifest, anyone who is born has to die. And hence, I cannot grant you immortality. And then he said, okay, women are not going to defy me. Women are weak, they are meek, and nobody could even think of defying me. So that is how he asked for man or God.
Okay. All right.
Eric, can I say something to your
Yes.
question? It's because I come from the field of classical dancing. I have a take on. We believe on the 50-50 of man and woman. We call it Ardhanarishwara, and therefore Shiva and Vishnu are the two of the trilogies. That is Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwar. So they generally don't come down to slay demons unless they take birth as humans or somebody who is so when we have them giving boons, so we have the half other consort doing the work of cleaning it up. And that's when the Durga, and because they take the birth of, they come down as they are. Of course, we have different names, but the goddesses are depicted as they are according to Indian scriptures. They don't take births. Of course, there are many new stories, but then ideally this is what it is. In answer to your question about why women.
Okay. Anybody else? Any thoughts? Pandya Rajan. You've got to turn your mic on.
Yes, sir. Good evening. I am Nageshwar Rao. Hello.
Yes,
Hello.
okay, go ahead. Yes, we can hear you now.
Yes. Pandya Rajan can talk. Right. Okay. The supreme power lies in the woman, in the form of woman, that is called Adi Shakti. That's what ma'am wanted to convey. And she has given the duty to all the men and other different goddess, 36 crore goddess. So the supreme power lies with the Mataji, Adi Shakti, that is called. So remaining all, there may be so many Shivas, there may be so many Vishnus, so many Brahmas. These all create, destroy, stay them to live. Finally, ultimate destruction will come from the Supreme Goddess Mataji. That is the main.
All things come out of the mother, of the female principal. All things come out of her, and then all things go back into her.
Yes, that's true.
Thank you for that clarification.
Barry?
Eric, can I say Pandirajan? That
Yes,
was
go
Nagesh.
ahead.
Yeah. Because, okay. See, when Hemalatha was presenting that Brahma and other things, that was very nice to explain, when, especially to the Western audience. But I want you from the video point of view. See, she was coming very closer and also holding the chairs very closer. I thought, suppose he sits a little bit backwards and to project that in front and explain. I am a video aspect I am talking about. You are a right person to tell which one should have been better.
Thank you. I will remember that.
Well, I thought that was well done. Yeah. I mean, those kind of puppets are more for children. It was a design for children, but I thought it was effective. I thought the spacing was good.
Okay.
Barry, what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to, well, first of all, can everyone hear me? I'm using a headphone I don't often use. Great.
Yes.
I wanted to kind of, along the lines of what Pandirajan said, it's just a question I have about when I use visuals, a couple of things, and I think, Hemalatha, you did this nicely at points, is the notion that when I bring a visual in, I have to share the screen with it, so to be careful not to block my face with it, but then also managing my the audience's focus. So, you know, if I have this one talking to this one, I generally look at the one that's talking because I feel like that transfers the focus to who's talking. And then I look at this one, even if this one is saying, you know, I admire you, I look at this. But, you know, I think that's for those of us who work with children, or in this situation, it's a story for adults, but you chose to use the puppets and they were wonderful for those of us who are not familiar with the cultural aspects. And so that is a question, as Pandirajan, I hope I'm saying it right, Pandirajan said, that we have to think about how we manage this screen and how we, you know, maximize and optimize the audience's experience visually with the screen. So I'm not saying one thing or another, but that we have to put thought into closeness, you know, proximity, and, you know, managing the space.
Thank you. I take that point.
You know, puppeteers often make a puppet house and, you know, set up this puppet house. So the rectangle that we have in a video conference, it's like that puppet house. So we can plan what is going to appear in the puppet house. Good. Okay, our final story of the evening is from Ed Lewis in California. I think you direct the California Storytelling Association, is that correct?
Yes, the Storytelling Association of California.
Yes, so we're very honored that you're with us. Thank you very much for waking up early in the morning. And
yes,
go ahead.
I'm watching the sunrise right now. Okay, so yeah, I'm a board member of the Storytelling Association of California, and we put on various events. We have a genre storytelling series where we have different genres each month, and last month, Ramya came on as a guest speaker and had a fantastic story on the folktale genre. And we have a new event called Stories in Living Color, where we take social justice issues and racism, discrimination. And right now we have a paired black storyteller and a white storyteller going through stories that deal with these particular issues. And they work together for about a month putting it together. So you can look, I put everything on the chat. If you want to find out more information, just go to that Storytelling Association of California.
Yeah, I just want to jump in before you continue. Is it Manisha who's walking around with your mobile telephone? Yes. Would you yes, please to stabilize yourself. It's a little distracting that we're getting a tour of your house. Yes,
Definitely.
Yes, very good. Thank you. Okay, I'm sorry, Ed, go ahead.
No problem. And I didn't realize that today is International Teachers Day, I heard from one of the other stories, and I have a story that deals with the profession of teaching. After I gave up on my misguided need to go into my father's profession as a businessman, I listened to my heart and I followed my mother's sage advice and went to graduate school at a private teachers college in Los Angeles. I took one class every semester for 7 years while I was working with young children. I knew from the first class that this was going to be my lifelong profession. It was a 1-unit class called Magic Mountain, Exploring Your Creativity. And the idea was that if we were going to guide children in exploring their creativity, we needed to explore our own creativity. So 15 students went to the professor's house up in the beautiful mountains of Malibu in California for a weekend. We camped out for that entire weekend. We had many amazing, exciting, imaginative activities and assignments we did, but the first one was the most important to me. The assignment was in the area of creative art. We were supposed to go out to the woodpile in her backyard, find a piece of wood, get about 4 oil paints, wander through the property to find things we could use for paintbrushes, then find a location and work for the next hour and a half or 2 hours. Well, I wandered the property. First I found a piece of wood. It was about 8 by 10. I got 4 oil paints. I wandered the property. I got some sticks, some feathers, some leaves, some plants that I could use to brush on with. And then I saw my favorite tree, a weeping willow tree. I went down under that. It was right next to a beautiful pond. And I sat down and I squeezed the red oil paint onto my piece of wood. And as soon as I did that, the tears just started flowing out of my eyes. And I was not in that willow tree anymore. I was in my 5th grade class with my witch of a teacher, Mrs. Sincock, standing next to me, holding the picture I had made in front of the class, saying, I told everyone to draw a beautiful picture. And this is a picture of a B-52 bomber. It is an ugly picture and it doesn't have any place in my classroom. And she ripped up that paper and threw it on the floor. Well, I was 10 years old in 1956, and I had learned a few expressions and words that I probably shouldn't have learned. And I looked up at her and I said, I gave her that little finger and I said, F you. And I ran out the door. And I was about 1 block down the street heading to my house, which is about 3 blocks away, when the vice principal caught up with me. He brought me back up to the principal's office, and I knew what the punishment was going to be. It was standard punishment in the 1950s in education. I had to bend over the principal's desk. He brought out a large board, and he whacked me 3 times on the behind. Of course, I wasn't about to show any emotion. I wasn't going to cry. I didn't want to give them any satisfaction. I went back to that classroom and I just glared at that teacher all day. Well, I came back finally to the willow tree, and I think I was in there because I was enclosed. I don't know if you know about willow trees, but they have these beautiful branches. And you go inside and you feel like you are just in a private space. It's almost like, I think, the safety of the womb. Well, for the next hour and a half, I just mixed paints. And I still have that 8 by 10 board in my family heirlooms. We did many creative activities that entire weekend, but one that you can all probably relate to is a storytelling activity. and I hadn't done this before, but you sit in a circle and the first person starts out with an imaginative story. When they're ready to pass it, they look to the person on their, to their right and say, and then, and that person takes on the story. And you just go around the circle. If you want to pass, you can pass. I've done this many times with children. Of course, when it got to me, I told this story about this horrific witch who was a 5th grade teacher. She had fangs that came down. She had snot running out of her nose. She was the ugliest thing anyone had ever seen. And I went up underneath her and lit her dress on fire, and she burned to ash. That was my way of getting even. Well, at the end of that weekend, we had many creative ideas, and I went back to my work on Monday, which was as a preschool teacher at a college lab school, where there were children from 2.5 years to 6 years of age that were in the preschool. And it was a laboratory where students could come over and work with children. Nursing students came, child development students, education teachers came. And it also was a place for all the students to have free childcare. It was a wonderful environment because it was a college environment. So we used, my creative teacher and me with all my new ideas, we went to the college that Monday. And we went to the art department where I had made an arrangement with the professor to have the children work with clay. So all his students were doing clay sculptures, and he paired one child with each student, all 24 children. And they worked on projects together for a month. And the children got to paint them, they fired them, they gave them as gifts to their parents. It was a wonderful process. We also went into the biology lab and looked at microscopes and made Petri dishes. We played with the soccer team, and we went to the farm. The children learned how to milk cows, and these are all city slicker kids. We went to the gardens, picked vegetables, the orchards, picked fruit, and we came back to our school and we created our own garden. Then we went to the woodworking area, and the children built their own produce stand. And when that produce was picked, the children sold it to their parents, the faculty, some of the staff. And then they took the money and we gave them toy catalogs, and they got to go through there and figure out what they could purchase with that money. They purchased Legos, puzzles, books, all kinds of things. It was a great process. And that's one of the things I learned, is the process is the important part. Well, we also went to my favorite place, was the music department. And we used to hear all the different choirs, the different bands. And one of our children had a mother who was singing in the jazz choir. And it was a famous jazz choir that put on a competition every year where college choirs from all over the Western United States came for a week-long competition. And it was judged by famous jazz singers. And I don't know how many of you know about jazz singing, but the Manhattan Transfer was there that year. And they are one of the most famous jazz groups, and they are still around, jazz singing groups. There were 4 of them. Well, we were listening to the jazz choir sing one afternoon, and they were doing what is called jazz scat singing. And I don't know if you know what that is, but it goes something like this. Ba-doo-wah, ba-doo, ba-doo-wah, da-doo-ba-doo-wah, da-doo-be-doo-be-doo-be-doo-wah. Well, what they were singing that, but half the jazz choir would sing that, and the other half would answer them in jazz scat singing. Well, the children and I were mesmerized by this singing. And when we were walking back across the football field to our school, the teacher light bulb came on, and I went, I can teach these preschool children how to sing jazz scat music. So I sat them down and I said, hey, I'm going to teach you how to sing jazz scat like Brandon's mom sings. And they went, really? Oh boy. because it was easy, because whenever I taught a new song to children, we would use the technique called echo, call and response. I would sing a line, they would answer with the same line. And we would do that until they learned the song, and then we just could sing the entire song together. So I said, be my echo. And I just started with something simple. I went, la, 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 la. And all the little preschoolers went, la, 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 la. La, 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 la. La, 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 la. This went on for quite a while, and the kids were fascinated. Well, I went back to the jazz choir director, and I said, you know what? Could we come up one day, and we've learned a new song. It's the Heidi Ho Man. And it was written in 1938. It's a very famous jazz singing song, jazz scat song. And the jazz choir could sing it, and we could be their echo. And he said, fine, come on up. So we did that during the day when they weren't having this jazz choir competition. So the jazz choir went like this. Heidi, 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 hi. And all the preschoolers went, Heidi, 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 hi. Heidi, 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 ho. Heidi, 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 ho. Heedy, heedy, hee. Heedy, heedy, hee. Ho-dee, ho. Ho-dee, ho. Well, that week, they had the competition, and we watched much of it. It was amazing. They had 6 different categories, and they got 6 winners from those categories. And then on Saturday night, those 6 winners put on a presentation along with the Manhattan Transfer. It was only $10. This is back in 1979. And they asked us to sing with them, the jazz choir from the college. So we came up with a name. We were called the Pierce College Preschool Jazz Choir. And we sang that night. The parents decked out their kids in the finest clothes that they had. We had a very diverse group. It was so exciting. And when we were done, we definitely got a huge applause. We were, I think, the hit of the evening. And the Manhattan Transfer said, hey, kids, come on over here. Let's do a little bit of jazz scat singing. And they did the Heidi Ho Man with the children. Well, 5 years ago, I went to a jazz festival near where I live in the San Francisco area. And the Manhattan Transfer were the headliners. So I listened to them, and after it was over, I went up to them, and there were 2 original members in that group. And I said, hey, do you remember the Pierce College Preschool Jazz Choir? And they said, it was a highlight of our career. How could we forget that? It was amazing. So I want to tell you, if any of you are teachers, when you go back to school, teach children how to sing jazz, scat music. And if you're not quite sure about it, just go online to YouTube and pull up jazz scat singing, and you'll hear a lot of different ones. And especially listen to the Heidi Ho Man. So I'd like to end with ba-doo-wah, ba-doo-ba-doo-wah, da-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo-wah, ba-ba, ba-doo-ba-doo-wah. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
That
you
was
very much.
wonderful, wonderful. I was reminded of Jungle Book by Baloo, who sings a similar song. Doobie doobie.
Nice.
It really would be good to have some of that online. I mean, my daughter here in Chennai is going to school by Zoom, but it's all you know, lecture and yeah, it's not so
And what
exciting.
it could be, instead
Yeah.
of just lecture, is storytelling and
But
singing.
story and sing and call and response and Heidi ho, Heidi hee,
Dancing.
Heidi ha.
Yes.
Yeah, somehow we have to get it going.
Lovely. Enjoyed the story, Ed, and all that singing, all the jazz singing.
Thank you,
Wonderful
Ramya.
story.
And for me,
You
I'm
should give,
just
you should
I'm
give
just
us an
so
opportunity
interested.
to
Oh, go ahead.
I said you should give us an opportunity to answer you. You should do Heidi Heidi Ho, and we should all, from wherever we are, open our microphones and answer you.
Yeah, I don't
as
know
an
how
echo.
I don't know how Zoom will respond, but let's try it. Ed,
I know how Zoom will respond. Zoom will love it.
You give a phrase or two, and
I was
either will. Go ahead.
I was thinking of doing that, so I'll go ahead and do it. But normally, when you try and do that, everyone comes out different because there's a lag time. But we'll try it.
Right.
But we can at least do it. So we'll give it a chance.
Let's try it.
Here we go. You ready?
Yeah.
We'll do it softly and
Do we
sweet.
just imitate you? Is that what we do?
Yeah.
We just imitate.
Yeah. Well, go ahead and unmute yourself, and then you just be my echo.
Okay.
And we'll see how it works. And I'll wait a bit in between. Heidi, 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 hi.
Heidi, 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 Heidi.
Heidi, 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 ho.
Heidi, 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 ho.
Heedy, heedy, he.
Heedy, heedy, he.
Hody, ho.
Hody, ho.
Well, I know a man.
I know a man.
And the man that I know.
And the man that I know.
Call him the king.
Call him the king
of the Heidi Ho.
Of the Heidi Ho. Okay, it's possible.
You can see it doesn't come out exactly right, but it's fun.
Yeah, it's a start. Good. Okay, well, we've had a very wide variety of types of storytelling tonight.
From the heart, that was so beautiful.
Yeah, all from the heart, but very wide, talk about different genres, right? We had the telling of a myth. We had a number of true life stories, a number of folk tales. I think we went from soup to nuts, as they say. Okay, and hopefully this will be put up on YouTube as a recording. What I really feel we need is the ability to leave little responses to people's recordings. And it's kind of difficult to do it all on YouTube. If anybody watching this recording is good at setting up a kind of a guest book type situation where people could leave, appreciative comments about one performance or another, let me know. Because I'm not good at that kind of, I don't know how to do that kind of thing.
You could always break up the performances into individual videos, then they can do it that way on YouTube.
Well, what I do on YouTube is I give different timings. YouTube is very nice. They let you say, watch the video from 2 minutes onward, watch the video from 4 minutes onward.
Oh.
So I'll do that, but it doesn't make it so easy to leave comments. I'm thinking we need a separate web page someplace where we can make comments. But I don't know. I leave this open to the community to help find a solution for this.
On another page in your mail, I'm not sure whether this works, but could it be like a blog where all of us say Ed's, I comment for Ed or I comment.
That's right. That's right. If anyone is an expert in making a blog with a kind of a guest book or a number of guest books, let me know.
Sure. We could just say the session of 5, 10, 20, and then put in our comments or whatever.
Right. That's right. Because now we have a backlog going back to July.
Yeah.
We have the recordings, July, August, September, October, and it's just going to grow. And people are watching the recordings, but it would be nice for them to also be able to
put in
yeah. And of course, we will edit it. If anyone says something negative, we will just make that disappear.
Disappear.
Okay.
No standard teachers anymore.
Well, okay. Shall we say good night and good morning? And Ed, thanks again for waking up.
Thank you very much, Eric. It was wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy International Teachers Day. Teachers Day to all. Okay. Happy Teachers Day. Okay,
thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
It was wonderful, Eric.
Thank you.
Thank
Great
you,
stories.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Eric.
Everyone, good night, good day.